in for missions. And what he does is he helps make sure that everybody's safe, and that Americans, when they come by, they know where they have the government. Like, we had security with us when we were in Tegucigalpa, so he makes sure that we're safe and that we don't get hurt or anything, because he wants more and more people to come to Honduras and help out. With Orphan Helpers, we are now we've gotten some federal grants from the United States, because they're figuring out that the way to stop some of the drugs coming into the United States is really to try to help different countries like Honduras. And we have different programs in the prisons, so that these kids, once they get out of prison, they have alternatives besides being drug dealers. And that's one way of stopping the pipeline of the drugs coming to the United States. So we just got some big grants now, and we're really doing some workshops for the boys, so that when they get out, they can do some skilled labor, and they have other alternatives. Because I mean, if you're an orphan and you go and you're lucky enough just to go to the orphanage, not go to the prison, when you get out, you only have two choices. You could be a prostitute or a drug dealer. I mean, those are your two, employment options. So we make sure that they have other options, and then we work with the churches too, and the churches bring them in as a family, and so they have that connection, and we also keep them in church. It's making a difference, and the goal is then to get those orphans to help the other orphans, and to the point that the United States is, or we don't have to do it. They're helping themselves, and to make them self-sufficient. I was going to say that you don't have to go to a foreign country to do missions work. You can do them here in the United States too. I do take phones away if they go off one.
But not right now.
And I'm just going to tell you a couple brief ones. I sit on the board for Secours Hospitals, and we sponsor the Redskins training camp, and the Secours Redskins training camp. And 2 years ago, I was we had the VIP tent, and all the players come in. We got our football signed, and we get to hang out with the players and everything. And they usually only do it for selected VIPs in the hospital organization. And I'm the chairman on the Quality Medical Affairs Committee for the 3 hospitals here. And so they gave me a pass to go in there, and I'm there with the CEO of Secours, and we do about $8.5 billion a year, so we're a pretty big organization. And I was talking to the president, and there was a kid that was in the public area, but they don't have access to the players, because it's roped off. If you've ever been there, you're roped off from the players. And they come to our VIP tent because we're the sponsors. And I was talking to the CEO, and I said, there's a kid over there, and if you ever see the show Radio, have you seen the movie?
Yeah.
That kid that he's mentally challenged, and the coach brings him in and gets him involved with the football team, and he's still with that high school. You all have seen that movie, right?
Yeah.
Well, there was a kid there that was like that with his mother, and this kid was such a fanatic Redskins fan. And I talked to the CEO. I said, hey, can I just bring him into the VIP tent? We got all this food and drinks, and we're not going to touch it. And do you mind? And he goes, no, go ahead. So I brought him in to the tent, and him and his mom, and the players came by, and they grabbed him, pulled him on the field, and played football with him. They all hugged him and everything, and they signed a football for him. He got the football with everybody's signature on it. And this kid's going crazy. I turned to the CEO and I said, you know what? This is the best thing. I've been to the VIP tent. This is the best thing ever that I'll never forget. And I said, we should be doing this. I mean, our mission, we're a Christian-based organization. Our mission is to help the indigent, and the poor. I said, we should be doing more of this. And the mom was so grateful. Her son is, I said, your son's not going to sleep for a month. and she goes, yeah, he's probably going to sleep with the football. And the CEO says, yeah, it's a good idea. Why don't you organize it?
Open your mouth, now you're in charge.
So last, a week ago Thursday, I was at the VIP tent with a whole tent full of kids. So I do it every year. And they allow me to have one day. So they give me a whole day where I get to grab the kids and do that. So again, and it was super easy because the staff organized it. All I do is show up and play with the kids. I told you, I'm not a pediatrician. I'd rather do that, play with the kids. Another thing, so I'm just saying, when you absorb, whatever situation you're in, all you have to do is just step back and see if there's an opportunity. I think God puts opportunities all the time in front of us. And all you got to do is just be observant and try to figure out what you can do. I'll give you another example. I used to go to the Starbucks, which is now my office. I bought it. Oyster Point in Jefferson. But I used to go to that Starbucks all the time, and there was always a homeless person there who said money for whatever, free coffee they were looking for. And there was a guy there once, and I know you don't give them cash. That's a mistake, because you're just feeding whatever their addiction is. And so I went in and got him a cup of coffee. And if you guys remember Ruby that used to be here, Ruby Gilbert, she used to put these bags in, and you'd have water, and you'd have literature on how you can get help, and it was crackers and peanut butter. It had a protein in it, whatever it was. I forgot what the protein was. And so what I would do is I put those bags in my car, and so I gave him the coffee and I gave him the bag, but I had to run, so I just gave it to him. I saw him eating a little bit and looking at the papers and kind of threw it away. And about 2 weeks later, I was back at that Starbucks, and he was there again. And I had time that time. I didn't have to rush, so I sat down and had coffee with him and talked with him. And I explained the papers to him and how you can get help. As homeless, there's so many different places that they can help them. And I thought, well, he just listened, and we talked a little bit, and I thought, well, he's kind of just wanted just a cup of coffee. So, but yeah, I gave him some water too, because Ruby had water in there. And about 6 months later, I went to my other office, and there had been a storm, and it was a Sunday after church, and I was picking up because my landlord's kind of slow, and I'm from Minnesota. We when wood or snow falls, we pile it. And so I went to the office on a Sunday afternoon just to get the branches out of the parking lot so people can get in Monday morning. And somebody came over and he was helping me out, and I was going to give him some money, for helping me, pull these big limbs out of the parking lot. And the guy goes, "No, I don't take your money. You don't remember me, do you?" And he goes, "Hey, I'm the guy at Starbucks that you gave that literature to, and I ended up going to Link and ended up getting a job, and they got me on a budget, and I'm at the apartments across the street now. I have a job, and I have my own place." And I thought, it's amazing, what I'm saying? That's just from this little bag of literature that we give out from the church, what I'm saying? That's just a little thing, but I think it's important not only to give it to them, but also to spend time with them too. Because a lot of these people are really, they're really lonely, and it's it's their personality, but if we can get past that, I mean, they really do need to connect with us. And I just think about Jesus. He didn't hang around with, we do our fellowship together, but he hung around with sinners all the time, murderers, homeless people, and it's scary sometimes, it can be dangerous, but you can do it in your own community. You don't have to go to the murder capital of the world, Honduras. The other thing I was going to tell you about is when we had the hurricane. Do you all remember when Isabel came through? Yeah. We had lost power in our neighborhood for 12 days. At my office, we have underground power, so we didn't lose power. And that night of the hurricane, we had reservations at a restaurant over at El Fresco's, but it was called Bon Appetit at the time. And they had power in Oyster Point in our little tiny area. And they had to call out, I don't know if y'all knew this, but that gas station was the only gas station that had electrical power. And the lines were like 5 hours long to get gas. And they had to call out the National Guard because fights were breaking out and everything. And my kids were with me, and they were young at the time, and my wife had just gone down to Orlando, so I told her, stay down in Orlando until the hurricane's over. We'll have power back on in a day or two, 12 days. I can take care of the kids. Yeah. If there is a purgatory, I already did it. So the kids saw that and they got scared, and I said, well, what do you guys want to do about this? And I said, well, if there's people fighting and being selfish and everything, I said, why don't we do the opposite? I mean, the way to fight evil is with good, not with more evil. And so why don't we try to do 10 good deeds a day? That's what we're going to do. Look for 10 things that we could do every day. So the first thing we did is we came to the church here and got all the coffee pots, and we had extension cords in my office, and we started serving coffee in our parking lot at my office. And I had the kids do it. They set up a table and they'd serve coffee, and mostly police officers came by because all the 7-Elevens were closed. And we went through 200 cups of coffee a day. I know that because we only had 200 cups. And I had to go to Harris Teeter and buy coffee. I had to go to different grocery stores. Usually I bought about 200, 250 cups, and we'd go through them all in one day. So we were out there, serving coffee. So they said, well, that counts as 200. And I go, no, that's only one. And so the first day we only did 9 on our counting. I said, well, our goal was to do 10. Why don't we shoot for 11, the next day? So we did 12 the next day. And by the end of the week, guess how many we were doing?
25.
We're down about 7, -7, what people were doing for us. It changes. I mean, they say if you want the world to change, you look in the mirror first. I mean, people were doing stuff for us. And so I really believe that's the way Jesus wanted us to be the light in the world. I'm going to finish up because they told me 9:30. I wanted to show you this book. It's called The Twisted Scripture, and it's untangling 45 lies that Christians have been told. And I really like it. I picked this up. I just got back from a trip to Colorado, and I bought this just to read on the airplane. And lie number 2, I just wanted to tell you, and it says, you are justified by faith plus good works. And that's a lie. Okay? You don't do good deeds, or you don't do missions work. You don't do that to justify your faith. It's once you have your faith, you want to do these things. You know what I'm saying? It's part of your DNA, and that's the way you grow. And I have to tell you that being around other Christians is the way to help that grow. And again, I started off with the story about Paul Tribble, and I would just wanted to finish up. It's just, I would have to say I've just been extremely blessed to have friends, and I'm worried about him because he's going through his surgery. That's why he's heavy on my heart right now. But I'm just really, really blessed to have people like that were in my life that had helped me, and to continue to have fellowship with people like that that helped me grow, and to be able to see the needs that we have. I think that when we all have that judgment day, we're all up in heaven. I think that the hard part is, I mean, we are saved because we accept Jesus Christ in our hearts. But I think the hard part isn't going to be what we did or didn't do, or what we did in life that we feel guilty about. It's going to be the things that we could have done that we just turned our backs on. Like the guy at Starbucks that I just handed him the paper the first time, but the second time I decided to sit down and talk with him. We had that was an opportunity I missed the first time, but God gave me an opportunity the second time. I think that's going to be the thing that we're going to have the hardest time with, and I hope that I can open up my eyes and see more opportunities like that can happen. And it's only in our own community. There's a lot of people hurting, so I think there's a lot of things we can do. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
I appreciate you all. Next time we have Paul Tribble, and you'll say, say I'm glad Vince was first because that next one's going to be fantastic. Did you want to close?
Yeah, I just got to say something. Clark and I came up with